God's infinity not only distinguishes him from all of creation, but it also means that we can have an intimate and personal relationship with him. I'm Caleb Blida, and this is 6-Minute Theology. And today we're continuing our study on the doctrine of God by examining the doctrine of God's infinity, that God is without limit. Today we're going to explore first how God's infinity connects with his aseity. Then we're going to look at 4 main aspects of God's infinity. And finally, why God's infinity matters for our everyday lives. First, it's important to situate God's infinity within the larger doctrine of God's aseity, that God is independent, that he is full of life. You see, infinity is a negative term. It means that God has no limits, but it flows from the positive term of God's aseity. And here's the connection. Because God is full of life in and of himself, Trinitarian life to be specific, it means he has no needs. He has no needs in relation to space, to time, to knowledge, power. He transcends all of that. He is above all of that. He is not limited by any of those things. And thus his infinity is indeed a subset of his aseity. But also the concept of infinity connects to other attributes of God. And this is where we get into 4 main aspects of God's infinity. The first aspect is that God is infinite in relation to time. In other words, he is atemporal. He exists outside of time. We see this in Psalm 90 verse 2. Before the mountains were brought forth, or ever you had formed the earth and the world, from everlasting to everlasting you are God. So God is who he is. He is God from everlasting to everlasting. He is not limited by time. Also, God is not limited by space. He is omnipresent. Jeremiah 23:24 asks the rhetorical question, "Can man hide himself in secret places so that I cannot see him, declares the Lord? Do I not fill heaven and earth, declares the Lord?" The obvious answer being no, we cannot hide ourselves from God because he fills the whole heaven, the whole earth. He is everywhere all at once. He's not limited by space. Additionally, God is infinite in relation to knowledge. He is omniscient. Psalm 139 verses 1 through 4 says, "O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You have known when I sit down and when I rise up. You have discerned my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down and are acquainted with all of my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know it altogether." So God has infinite knowledge. God is omniscient, and this includes even his perfect knowledge of future events. Before we speak the words we're going to say, God knows those words. He knows those thoughts. He knows everything that is happening and is going to happen in the future. The 4th aspect of God's infinity is in relation to power, that God is all-powerful or omnipotent. Job 42:2 says very clearly, "I know that you can do all things, and that no plan of yours can be thwarted." Jesus echoes this when he says that with God, all things are possible. God is not limited in his power, in his knowledge, in relation to space or in relation to time, because he is infinite. He is infinitely full in and of himself. Now, why does this doctrine matter in terms of theology? Why is it much more than just an abstract principle that we should affirm? Well, first off, God's infinity distinguishes him from all of creation. We have limits. Humans are very limited in their power, in their knowledge. They're limited by their bodies. But God has none of these limits because he is separate. He's above his creation and everything flows from him. But also, God's infinity doesn't just make him above everything else. It also means we can have a personal, intimate relationship with God. Because God is not limited by any aspects, it means he can care for us with his whole being. And likewise, it means when we are in relationship with God, we can experience all of God's blessings, all of the goodness of God's character, as if we are the only ones experiencing that. And every individual gets to experience that fullness of God. A.W. Tozer explains this in his book, God's Pursuit of Man. An infinite God can give all of himself to each of his children. He does not distribute himself that each may have a part, but to each one he gives all of himself as fully as if there was no others. So God's infinity means he's above all creation, but get this, so because God is infinite, he can be intimate with each one of us. He can be intimate with you. Thank you for listening to 6 Minute Theology, and stay tuned to learn more about God and why who God is affects our daily lives.